When I got my first electric vehicle, a Tesla Model Y 4 years ago, it just made sense. With expensive gas and great tax incentives, the cost of owning a Tesla was actually cheaper than owning a gas car. But with the rising costs, electricity, extra electrical vehicle registration fees, expensive battery replacements, and insurance, does it really still save money in the long run, say in 10 years, which is how long most people keep their car, when you get an electric vehicle like a Tesla compared to a gas car or even a hybrid car? Now we can have this debate all day. If I compare a gas guzzling Hummer to like a small Tesla Model 3, clearly the EV is gonna win. So we're just gonna keep it basic and assume we're comparing it with a hybrid car, say a Toyota Rav4 plug-in. But before we do that, make sure to subscribe to the channel and always like the video. Now I already did a video breaking down all the costs of my Model Y in 4 years, so check that out if you want. But let's start with purchase price. Tesla is constantly changing their prices and their configurator. Recently, Tesla released a long-range rear-wheel drive Tesla with 320 miles, and it only starts at $45,000. But if you wanted two motors in case one fails, it only costs $3,000 more at $48,000, with slightly less miles at 310. So I think the rear-wheel drive Tesla Model Y is a super value and totally worth it. Now don't forget, if you qualify for the $7,500 federal tax credit, that drops the car down as low as $37,490. When we got our Model Y 3 years ago, not including FSD, it cost us around $50,000. If we were to compare the Model Y to a similar size car, the 2024 Toyota Rav4 Prime Hybrid XSE, that bad boy costs around $48,000 with an average MPGe of 94 miles. The Toyota Rav4 Prime does not qualify for any EV credit in 2024. So overall, already the best value seems to be the Tesla Model Y. Being in California, DMV registration is so expensive. The registration costs will vary based on where you live, because the cost of owning an electric car may be higher in some states because you're not paying for a gas tax. So instead, some states actually have EV tax. For me in 2024, my 2021 Tesla Model Y registration still costs over $700. Man, I need to get out of California. What about you guys? Comment down below where you guys are from and how much is your registration. So let's just say in 10 years, and I know this is very fluid, it's all gonna change, but in 10 years, if my registration fees stay the exact same for my Tesla Model Y, it's gonna cost around $7,000. Now, for a 2024 RAV4 Prime, the DMV fees are actually still pretty pricey, I'm assuming because of the price point. Based on the DMV calculator, it will cost around $645 for the year. So again, if it stays the same, no changes in price, in 10 years, the DMV cost for that RAV4 will be around $6,450. So only a little cheaper than the Tesla Model Y. So if we go back to the calculations, we're comparing a $48,000 RAV4 versus a $37,500 rear-wheel drive Model Y. Because the registration is slightly more expensive, the Tesla Model Y is still cheaper by $10,870. Next, let's talk about a big one, insurance. Based on this Edmunds data for a 2024 RAV4 Prime, the average insurance costs around $1,400 a year. Tesla has their own insurance policies that are pretty cheap. However, service and claims aren't the best based on the reviews, as they use a third-party insurance company, so I'd probably avoid that if possible. For us, we had AAA, but it's one of the most expensive insurance policies you can get. For our Model Y for the year, it was around $3,000. So we ended up switching to State Farm, which is still pretty expensive. For the Model Y, I paid $2,500 a year. And our coverage isn't crazy, it's just like the default stuff. Now, I know there is much cheaper options you can look into, like Costco has a good one. However, I found out that a lot of these insurance companies try not to use OEM parts. They take forever to process claims. Whereas when we got into an accident with AAA, it was instant. They took care of everything, stress and hassle-free. But just keep that in mind, it just depends on the insurance companies. It also depends heavily on where you live, as other factors like previous driving history and age. And one crazy thing, I was talking to a AAA advisor and I found out that they qualify Tesla as a super luxury exotic brand. That's why the insurance costs more. And it does make sense because getting parts can be very difficult and you can only go to certified Tesla repair centers with all their cameras and sensors and stuff. So 10 years out, RAV4 with the very cheap car insurance of a measly $1,400 a year, in 10 years, it's only gonna cost $14,000. With the Model Y, it would be $25,000. So I know the numbers is intense and confusing, so take a break with me and let's talk about today's sponsor, Delete Me. I was on my Tesla screen the other day and I was looking up myself, as we all do from time to time. And the first Google search was, what's Everydaychris's real name? But it's not just because I'm a creator. Everywhere we go, places we used to live, relatives we know are all somewhere on the web. And that's how those robocallers and scammers get your information. So I wanted to keep my private stuff private. So I went to the people who knew how to protect my privacy, Delete Me. Now, it's not free. I think a 2-year plan costs around $209. However, what's awesome and totally worth it is that they're constantly scrubbing data in the background to remove traces of you in the past and the future. If you guys are interested, make sure you use my referral link for a discount below. Wow, so with the expensive insurance, Tesla's winning gap closed up by a lot. So the Tesla Model Y only is cheaper than the RAV4 by only $250 in 10 years. And again, so far, take these calculations with a grain of salt. Insurance costs should decrease as you get older and as the car gets older. But overall, regardless, because a Tesla is more of a luxury brand, their insurance policy will always be higher unless you go with like those 99-cent store insurance policies or Tesla. So already past Chris is super sad because he thought he was saving all this money buying a full electric car, but in reality, he should have just got a RAV4. Now, next up is a biggie, maintenance. And I think this is probably where the cost of owning an electric car is going to help even out the gap. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I hate going to the car dealerships, even for service. I mean, their goal at the end of the day is to make money. They'll find a way to somehow charge me $80 for labor to replace my cabin air filters? Dealerships. Now, just a quick life hack. If anyone out there has a gas car still, you can buy the oil, like really good synthetic pure motor oil from Costco. And you could buy the oil filters in bulk from Amazon. Then you could take both of those to a cheaper sister company. Like if you have a Lexus, you could take it to Toyota. Have them install it, change the oil, and they only charge you for labor, which is so much cheaper. You're welcome. Now, with Teslas, there's no engine, so already you're winning. Tesla doesn't really make any money off of basic services like air filter changes. So they actually have videos on their website so you can actually do it yourself. And I also have videos on how to do it yourself. It's not hard at all, very simple to do. You don't have to deal with oil changes, spark plugs, flushes, and rarely do you have to replace your brakes and brake fluid. My friend has a Tesla with over 100,000 miles, never replaced his brakes once. He also never replaced his windshield wipers for some reason. I don't know, what are those made of? Diamonds? But because you have the motors that slow down the car for you, you don't need to ever really press the brakes that much. So the biggest cost with your Tesla and with my Tesla Model Y will probably just be air filters and windshield washer fluid. For instance, replacing a Model Y HEPA filter needs to be done every 3 years and it costs $90 for the HEPA filters. It also has 2 cabin filters that need to be replaced every 2 years. And on the Tesla website, they have it listed as $17, but look at the fine print. You need 2 of them to replace, so it's a total of $34. I don't know why they just didn't bundle it together, but literally that's it. You don't need to do anything else. Now, I did a video on it. My friend with his 111,000 mile Model 3, he did do a bunch of stuff like the AC service for the smell, the brake burnishings. However, now you can do all that yourself. So in the almost 4 years of owning my Tesla, the only cost I had to pay for was about maybe $50 on maintenance. I mean, it's so low that all these websites, they don't know how to calculate the fees of electric cars like a Tesla. For the maintenance, I think the most expensive thing was rotating the tires. However, another life hack, if you guys didn't know, you can actually rotate your tires for free at America's or Discount Tires, even if you didn't buy tires from them. Yes, you heard that correctly. I took my Tesla Model X there. I got a free tire rotation, even though my tires were still OEM ones from Tesla. The only thing they do is they ask you to replace their wiper blades, or they ask you to get their tire warranty, which I do highly recommend, because in case you get a nail and it's on the edges and you can't replace it, you only have to pay for that tire warranty, which is like $20 to replace that tire instead of having to buy a brand new tire. So even though on this website it says in 10 years it will cost around $4,700 to maintain a Tesla Model Y, it's definitely not true. For the RAV4 at least, you still have an engine, so every 10,000 miles you still need to do a full synthetic oil change. And at 100,000 miles, you still have to replace the engine coolant and eventually spark plugs and vacuum pump and all that stuff. So for the RAV4, the 10-year cost breakdown for maintenance being $5,700 does seem to be accurate. Now, I will say that the one thing you may have to buy earlier with Teslas and electric vehicles more often is tires. These cars are heavy with more power and torque, so you have to deal with replacing tires sooner. And because it requires special extra low tires, it may cost a little bit more. However, I'm over 35,000 miles in on my second set of tires, and I have plenty of tread left. It all depends on the type of tires. For me, these are the Michelin Pilot Sport All Season 4s. It has super thick tread compared to other tires out there. We replaced the OEM Continental Pro contacts at 30,000 miles with the Michelins, and it cost us $1,400 for 4 tires versus my other gas cars where I could have waited at least 50,000 miles. Going back to the calculations, right now the Model Y is winning by only $250. However, with the maintenance costs for Teslas being so low, the Model Y is now cheaper than the Toyota Rav 4 by $5,450. Now, before we move on, this next section is to all those Tesla haters out there. Yes, there are things that can go wrong with the Teslas, like the cameras failing or worse, the high voltage battery pack that holds all your miles just dying. This is very rare, but it does happen. It actually happened to me, but mine was covered under warranty. Their battery warranty is one of the best. With the Model 3 and Y long range, it's 8 years or 120,000 miles. And with the rear-wheel drive models, it's 8 years or 100,000 miles. But if you have to pay out of pocket, the cost to replace can range anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000. And for sure, you're gonna be at a loss. So I guess just sell your car before your warranty expires. So let's talk about the next big saver, gas. One reason we all go electric is no more waiting in line for Costco gas lines. You can fill up at home. However, depending on how many EVs you own, you may still up paying a hefty amount on gas, especially with the rising cost of electricity. Depending on where you live, as always, we always try to avoid charging between 4 to 9 p.m., but it could cost anywhere from 25 cents on off-peak times. And don't get me started on on-peak times from 4 to 9 p.m., which is cost anywhere upwards of 60 cents. For me, I don't drive that much, but my wife still commutes to work. This year so far, we've driven around 1,900 miles. And if the average American drives 14,000 miles a year, and then to charge at home, it would cost around $1,030 for the year to charge. If we compare that to the Toyota Rav 4 Prime, which only has 42 miles of all electric, and with the hybrid engine, 40 on highways, and an average gas cost in California of $5, which is pretty cheap, but I mean, this is a lot of math. My Asian brain is exploding. In 1 year, it would cost around $2,500 to fill up gas in the Rav 4. So in 10 years, the Model Y would cost about $10,300 in electricity costs, and the Rav 4 would cost $25,000 in gas. So in the 10-year ownership of gas savings alone, with the Model Y, you save an additional $14,700, bringing us back up into the positive with a net gain of $20,150. Now, there are tons of factors that affect real life data. For instance, the cost of electricity is going to constantly rise. Also, if people have solar or charge at home, they aren't spending any money on charging. Other factors, like if you go on a road trip and you charge at superchargers, charging costs are slightly higher than charging at home. But if you compare that to the crazy California gas prices, where the gas prices can rise over $6 during some months, these values can change super quickly. So fuel savings are for sure a real thing. Now, another thing to keep in mind is depreciation costs. Although the Tesla is easy to maintain, it gets updated with software updates to make the car better, versus having to buy a new car for new features in other brands. I was surprised to see how much more the Tesla depreciates versus other car brands, but I understand why. Edmund shows that the Model Y would lose about $33,000 of depreciation in 5 years, versus only $22,000 in the Rav 4 Prime. Now, one thing that can affect the resale value in a Tesla is miles. With higher miles in an electric car, the battery health is usually decreased. Yes, I mean, higher mileage in any car is a bad thing, but at least with engines like Toyota or Lexus, it will still go and be good regardless. With batteries, however, you have to replace it once it can't hold a proper charge anymore. And with Teslas, they're constantly changing their prices on their website. So when the price for a new car is lower than the price you paid, regardless, your resale value would suffer. Now, another thing you gotta think about when you get a Tesla is essential accessories. On top of electricity costs, if you want to charge at home, you'll need to buy a wall connector. You can buy the Tesla wall connector for $450 or a universal wall connector for $620, and you need to have someone install it, like an electrician, and the cost can vary, but it can be anywhere from $500 to $1,000, or maybe even more depending on your setup. And now Tesla cheaped out and they don't even provide a mobile connector kit for free, so you have to pay $250 if you want that, which I definitely recommend because you never know if you need a quick charge in case your Tesla dies. So if we include these essential accessories, which apply if you want to charge at home, the total cost is $1,700. Now Tesla is a fairly new car brand. Their cars for the most part are simple to build with not that many issues. However, Toyota and Lexus are still ranked the highest year after year for dependability and reliability, with Tesla always not the best for some reason. My Model Y had a few major issues, but they were all covered under warranty. These are all reliable cars and they do last, so the probability of you ever needing to pay out of pocket for something big is very small. The biggest savings you're gonna find is to keep your Tesla for semi-long run, at least 8 years. But again, battery chemistry and health decreases over time, which is why I just feel like electric cars in general are not meant to be driven like your mom or grandma's Toyota. You don't need to drive these down to the ground forever. So let's just summarize the total cost of the Tesla Model Y, including everything like registration, price, insurance, maintenance, and charging, is $80,290. And if we add essential stuff like charging accessories for charging at home, it's $1,700 on top of that, which gives a total of $81,990. And comparing the same thing with the Toyota RAV4 Prime, it costs $100,440. So in summary, the estimated 10-year cost of owning a Tesla Model Y beats the Toyota RAV4 by $18,450. In the end, the savings of fuel versus electric may not seem substantial at first. However, over time, you'll see a benefit in fuel savings as well as maintenance. And comparing a RAV4 to a Model Y, I mean, there's no comparison. Handling, power, software is amazing to Tesla. Not to mention, it's the safest vehicle around. So when in doubt, Tesla it out. Anyways, guys, hope that video helped you. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.